Welcome back to 𝕊ubscribe 𝕃ike, guys. It's Taylor here. We have another ChrisHansen interview highlight for you guys. Today's guest is JaclynGlenn. I don't know if you're familiar with JaclynGlenn, but I've been following her for years. Well, I mean, not like decades of years, just a few years, 2.5 to 3 years. So this one for me, I've been waiting for this since the beginning. I will link the original video for you guys in the description box below on ChrisHansen's channel. We're just going to jump right into this. The introductions were already done. The intro was quick because we just have a lot to talk about, a lot of commentary to give, and I actually want to go a little more in depth on this commentary because there was so many topics that were talked about. So let's begin.
Whom first? Did you reach out to Onision or did he reach out to you?
He reached out to me. He, I guess, had seen one of the videos that I did where I was interviewing different street protesters, and he thought it was funny. He decided to send me a DM on Twitter, say that he thought my video was funny, he thought I was smart, and offered to fly me out to his house to do different video collaborations with a couple of other YouTubers. And that was a few months before I flew out there. So, you know, in no time, I was kind of already there and making videos with him. I didn't know him at all prior to that. So it was definitely new.
Did you sense anything odd going into it? Did the guy...
I mean, I thought it was odd.
Did you the creeps in any way? Or did your radar go on?
Not for me personally. I did think it was interesting. I've never had a situation where someone was like, "I'll fly you out to my house." I
mean, that's pretty forward, but I guess if you're collaborating in a video media endeavor, it's not unheard of.
Well, my parents were concerned. They're like, "So you don't know this person, and this guy is flying you out to his house." They thought it was a little weird. But, you know, I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, exactly what you said. It's YouTube. People collaborate all the time. You know, I thought he was nice to offer to do that. And I went for it. It was a little odd when I was there for a few reasons. He got into a few fights with one of the other girls that was there. She flew out, her YouTube channel is Hey Nadine. She flew out as well. And he was really, really angry with her at dinner one night because she wore high heels, and it turned into this really uncomfortable fight.
What did he do just because she wore high heels?
He was trying to say how women shouldn't wear high heels because it's unhealthy and it's not good for your foot arch support, and all of this really, like, it felt very random to me. But he was so angry with her for wearing shoes that he didn't like. It just seemed a little excessive, over the top, and controlling.
So a little bit after Jaclyn described how they got together in a collaboration in the first place, she then describes an incident when she was there at Onision's house that Greg himself got angry at another YouTuber for wearing high heels. To me, that's such a strange thing to be that upset, that angry, that irate over. Because, I mean, essentially wearing high heels, it's, well, then, you know, you can express a logical concern. You can like bring it up at the table, like, you know, oh, hey, did you know that this can do something to the arch of your feet or something like that? Just like sort of like a silly topic, maybe even an informative topic. But it really shows here that, in my opinion, he has a lot of anger issues, a lot of control issues regarding how women handle their body in any single way. And like you and many people here, you've been following this entire series with each interview process and how each individual seems to have that as an example to reference. One of the quickest examples I can reference here for you guys is in Billy's case, when she was medicinally using whatever she decided to use at that time, her own body, her own decision, and then Greg decided to implement really humiliating disciplinary commands at her. One of the commands being that she had to tattoo something on her forehead, that she was going to have to stay, you know, locked up in a dog cage in the basement, I believe was referenced, or something similar along those lines. The thing is, though, is you know, Greg has no right. He has no right to talk about how somebody should treat their body, what they should put in their body, what they should do with their body, what shoes they wear, what clothes they wear, who they date, who they don't date, what they do, what they eat. Because I know in the past, and I've even referenced this in the past, where he tells people that if they're not vegan, that they're horrible people. Now, I support anybody wanting to better themselves, better their health, better their life. But you do not, as a person, have control over anything anybody else does with their body. That's my opinion on that.
A lot of downtime to hang out. he was really nice. He was really nice to all of us while we were there, except for Nadine in that one moment. I know that he was fighting with his spouse at the time, so that was a little uncomfortable.
So was he married to Kai at the time, or was this before Kai? So he was married to Kai, Lainey. And take me inside that house. What was the relationship? I see you roll your eyes.
It's just
what was the relationship between Onision and Kai?
It was definitely odd. You could feel the tension. It was uncomfortable. And I remember we were in the car driving somewhere. It was just Onision, me, and then the two other YouTubers that were there to collaborate. And he was talking about his relationship with a spouse and saying that, you know, at times things get really heated and they fight. And if he calls her a name or does something extremely insulting, he gives her $100. And that just makes everything better. And I was like, that's really weird, especially since they're married.
He just pays her $100?
Well, at the time, I don't know if that's still going on, but he thought it was brilliant. I've come up with this solution that when we fight or I'm horrible to my spouse, I just pay $100. And
how would Kai react when he gave her $100? Or
I was not around for that end of things. I just, you know, I was there in the car when he was talking about that arrangement. And
my thoughts and reactions to Greg using $100 for every insult that he implements on his spouse at that time or whenever he has ever done that, maybe potentially even in the past. I think that is such a controlling, nasty way to handle things. So instead of him saying, you know, I'm sorry, and trying to grow as a person, or, you know, just taking a look at his own actions when he knows he does something wrong, or he knows he, you know, says a mean name to somebody, he pays them, in this case, Kai, $100 to, for lack of a better term here, be quiet, shut up, and just move along with life. In my personal experience, I would never handle something like that. To me, I would never allow my spouse to, one, treat me that way. You know, arguments happen in relationships. That's something that does take place. But really, as a healthy couple, I mean, you really have to begin to learn how to communicate with each other. You know, arguments do happen, disagreements happen, things happen like that. But to try to silence your partner and control them with money rather than grow with your partner shows you an example of how Onision himself handles, and immaturely so, handles a relationship. I also wonder why Kai, he himself, put up with that type of behavior. Was it something he just accepted at the time? Was it something that in the back of his mind he knew was wrong yet just wanted the money? I mean, I don't understand that whole thought process. And like, maybe it's because I haven't ever been in a relationship like that, thank goodness. But at the end of the day though, it's like, whoa, dude, like, how do you not say something about that and try to implement better strategies, especially if you have, you know, little ones in the house? That's my opinion. It could be overstepping, overreaching, but to me, it's just like, I view Kai as a very submissive type of person, and that's just how I see Kai.
Right.
It feels weird now, looking back. You know, at the time, like I said, I'm embarrassed about all of this, but at the time, you know, this is somebody that I had been watching on YouTube. I was excited to get to make videos with a group of people. That wasn't really something that I got a whole lot of before then. So I was really looking forward to it. You know, when you're in that situation and everybody's kind of fine with what's happening, well, I'd be like, whatever, it was a weird video, but nothing too serious. But in this context, now finding out all these things about him, I am kind of, I don't know, I guess it's a little uncomfortable to think about.
How did the videos do when you put them on your channel?
They did okay. They didn't go viral or do super well. I think it got a little over 100,000 views, but it didn't, you know, break the internet or anything.
Right. And so what happened between you and Greg after the video, which look, you know, you can look back and say that was a mistake, but you know, it seemed to make sense at the time. You're trying to get into this sphere. He's a big deal in this sphere. I mean, yeah, you look at, you know, I'm a banana, you know, it's just so stupid. But at the time, it got a lot of attraction. It got a lot of views. It was a big deal. And so why wouldn't you at least go collaborate with somebody who was, you know,
that was my logic behind it.
Very popular at the time.
Yeah. that's why I went for it, you know? And I honestly, even leaving that situation, I'm like, that was, you know, it was fine. It was a fine experience.
Right.
I got to meet new people that do what I like to do. And I, you know, like I said, when I started YouTube, I did that because I felt like there weren't people around me that I could relate to or talk with about how I felt. So to be in a collaborative situation with other people that share my interests, just it was
Right.
really exciting for me to be able to do that.
Well, it's like
You
a
know,
filmmaker hanging out in LA or
yeah.
Brooklyn here in New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where
So
the young people go.
I left
So,
feeling, you know, fine about the experience. And that's why I got so caught off guard when he turned so nasty on me on the internet. It just, I was like, really? I thought I was there not long ago and things were fine. And now you're acting like.
So when Jaclyn referenced that she had been embarrassed looking back on things now, it's something I wanted to point out as a topic because I've seen a lot of people who feel that exact same way. Some people even in my comment section saying, I feel embarrassed like that I ever supported this person. I want to stop that thought process like right here and try to give you guys like some peace of mind with that. I have myself done that as well, not with Onision particularly, okay, but with another YouTuber, another content creator. I am embarrassed that I ever even associated with this individual. But, you know, how could you, as a person, I'm speaking to you guys who feel that way, who view this video, how could you have known? How could you have known the things going on behind the scenes? Now, I understand feeling guilty for maybe not necessarily changing your opinion right away. I get that because it also took a process for me to change my opinion on the certain content creator that I'm referencing in my experience. But regardless, you did. You changed your opinion, you moved forward, and you saw the wrongdoings as they were displayed to you. You have no reason to feel guilty for supporting somebody that was misleading you as a viewer. That's essentially what was happening here. Onision, and even in my case, you know, Onision was misguiding his viewers to make a lot of people believe that he was a good person or that he was the victim in things. And that it's very, very, very manipulative. And they do that on purpose. They do that because they see an influx of new people coming to their channel and they want to do essentially just that, get more people who like them because they know that there's a lot of people who do not like them already. And they know that their actions are bad, whether or not they premeditated those actions or it's just life occurrences and decisions that they made and the consequences from the decisions that they made. Nonetheless, it's still a manipulative tactic that a lot of content creators will use to help strategize growth on their channel or in any way, shape, or form, just growing maybe their interactions or whatever, or a fan base.
It has nothing to do with you.
when you say turned on you, tell me exactly what happened. How did he turn on you?
Through my YouTube network, sometimes they will recommend people to collaborate with, and they set up a collaboration with me and another YouTuber that I eventually started dating. And when we posted our collaboration together, Onision kind of lost his mind a little bit.
Lost his mind.
Yeah, it was weird, but it wasn't only.
What way did he lose his mind?
Just he was very, very publicly angry online, and it wasn't just at me. It was at anybody that was in any kind of association with my ex at the time. Any friends, anybody making any kind of videos, and he didn't, have any problem calling people out and just cutting people off. And he made a big deal about it. Not that anyone really cared all that much, but he unfollowed people on Twitter and, just made a really big deal about it and was kind of harassing people and saying, if you associate with this person, you're a bad person.
And what did he say, Jaclyn? What did he do to you?
Well, that was just the beginning of the stuff that he started saying to me. Obviously I didn't obey Onision, which I think is kind of what almost that's what he expected. He thought he was going to tell me, I don't like this person. And I was going to be like, oh, okay, well, in that case, since Onision doesn't approve, then I'm just going to back off from this. It was ridiculous. So I didn't. And he was really, really angry with me that I continued on with this relationship to the point of finding things to nitpick about me and my personal decisions and blaming it on that relationship and saying that I was being controlled and manipulated and all of these really terrible things. Granted, it was a bad relationship. It did end horribly, but the things that he was accusing me of at the time were untrue.
Why do you think he did it? Was he jealous? Did he want to get with you?
I don't know.
Was he upset that you were getting so popular?
I really don't understand the motives behind it. People have said before that, you know, maybe he has a crush on you and he's being controlling because of that. But I never, ever had any interactions with him that would lead me to believe that, other than
he never hit on you in any way.
No, nothing ever like that.
Nothing inappropriate sexually.
No. So, you know, the only thing kind of leading people to that conclusion was how overly invested he was in my personal life. And it was weird. I have never in my life experienced this, nor should anyone, where someone, a grown man, goes on the internet and makes countless videos about your boobs, about the way that you look, shaming you for your height.
What did he say? What did he say about your breasts online?
You
the right or the privilege to do that?
No, I don't know. I don't know how anybody in their right mind would feel like they could say the things that he said. But you know, I had to like process all of this. It even caused tension in my family, because in the videos that he would make about me, he would say the only reasons, you know, that you have any insecurities about yourself, or that you would act on those insecurities, is because your family, your parents specifically, don't love you.
What did he know about your parents? Or
nothing.
He's making this stuff up.
Yeah.
Was he stalking you, Jaclyn, in a way?
Stalking? No. I mean,
online on video.
He was texting me a lot. He was texting me a lot. So not only was I being harassed for being in this relationship online publicly, but I had to block his number because it was overwhelming. It was just constant, like, berating me for not listening to him.
You actually blocked Onision?
Yes, I had to. He would not stop texting me.
The harassment was that bad.
He was texting me nasty things, yeah. So I had to just block him.
Give me a sense of something he texted you that just blew you away, that shocked you, that offended you, that made you wonder, how did I get involved creatively with this guy?
All of the things he said made me second guess my decisions to associate with him.
Give me a sense of it. Give me one thing.
I mean, it was almost 100% based on him trying to convince me to leave the relationship that I was in.
And why does he even think he can tell you that you should or should not be in a relationship? Where does he get it? He's a married guy living in a home with children. And I mean, did it go to his head? Was he manipulative? Was he trying to form a cult? All of the above?
Probably all of the above.
Yeah.
I don't think any rational person behaves in that way. You know, it's bizarre and super.
So I remember this whole time period. I used to watch SocialRepose. I used to watch the little drama that Onision had with SocialRepose, and the just horrible things that he would say about Jaclyn. And before I even knew a lot of, Greg's actions behind the scenes with exes, as I was learning it through that time period and observing it and seeing old videos and stuff like that, I already knew just by the accusations that he was making upon their relationship, having no, part of their relationship, the horrible things that he was saying in Jaclyn's choices of body enhancement, the horrible things that he was saying about her height, how just horribly rude he was to her for no reason. And it was all based off of like her looks. And I even saw him attack her verbally with accusations about her family and how she must have been outcast from her family and all that. It clicked to me even at that time period that he was massively controlling, massively manipulative, and just downright irate as a person. How he handled things, his logic was just not there. It was like it almost did not exist. I would see the comments that were kind of giving feedback on the fact that maybe he was jealous of SocialRepose, maybe he had underlying feelings for Jaclyn, and I agreed up to a certain extent because of the fact that he was just sort of attacking just these weird things and trying to make her feel insignificant as a person for just things that are so bizarre. Like I've said, he has no right to judge any person in the world at all for enhancing their body in whatever way they want to at all. I mean, to be honest with you, nobody should feel bad for wanting to feel more confident in whatever way that they pay for or that they work for or that they change their lifestyle for. That's just absurd to me. I am very curious. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that maybe Greg had some underlying feelings for her? Do you think that maybe he had a crush on her? Do you think that maybe he was jealous of SocialRepose? Another thing that also just really truly disturbs me about how he handles things is he would go out of his way to make videos on the subject of her enhancements that she paid for. I am sorry, but when somebody does that, I consider that just very awkward and almost borderline stalkerish. When Jaclyn referenced that this caused a little bit of issues with her family and just the stress that it potentially put them under, I can relate to that because I've had people go out of their way to attack my family. And it puts you in a different kind of position because it's like, you know, whether it be a child, whether it be, you know, a parent, whether it be anything like that, those people have nothing to do with anything on YouTube. And especially in my case, my personal experience, it was impossible for the individuals to have had anything to do with the person attacking and doxing those said individuals. So it really changed how I handle everything on the internet. I took my family off the internet, the ones that I obviously could take off the internet, and I had to call a lot of people, physically call them on the phone and explain to them certain things that were going on and how to better protect themselves from anything that was either being screenshot or taken from their social media websites and used as an exploitive, I guess, attack against me, against them, against things that were even just blatantly made up. It was just so horrible and ridiculous that I can totally relate to that.
You know, you live and you learn, you grow up, and I have in the past made a lot of poor choices in my relationships. I will admit that. I have learned and grown from that, and now I'm doing great. But previous to the bad relationship I just spoke of, I was in one before it that was also very unhealthy. And I had to end that relationship and cut off communication with that guy as well, because it crossed a lot of my boundaries. You know, after we broke up, he would still show up to my apartment. He would break into my apartment complex and leave notes on my car. You know, he would...
Stalking.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was... I would worry when I would go home that he might be there. So, and I had that happen before too, where I would pull up to, you know, my apartment complex and his car would be there. And it was a lot. It was overwhelming. And Onision knew about that. Whenever I went and collaborated with Onision, same guy was contacting Damien, another one of the YouTubers that was there, asking for Onision's address because he wanted to send me flowers while I was at Onision's house to try to make me get back into the relationship or something. And he knew, he knew that.
But he comes out to LA.
Yeah. So I'm in the next relationship. You know, this is years later. He comes to LA and stays with the ex that tried to send me flowers.
So the bad ex who conducted all this harassment, stalking.
That he knew about.
He comes out, Onision comes out to LA and stays with the bad ex.
I know they were together.
They were hanging out at least.
They were at least hanging out.
Yeah. And so what happens then?
I don't know. I remember I saw them post something online together and I was really weirded out. I was really uncomfortable.
I should say so.
And I just kind of ignored it because I didn't want to fuel that fire. I just wanted that to go away. And I thought it had, for the most part. Nothing really happened. So I just kind of brushed it off as a nothing. But in October of last year, Onision sent me a really creepy email that I can read if you would like.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it. Would you read it for me?
Sure. And you can
This is the email just this past October.
Yes, October 23rd, 2019.
Okay.
Subject, hey, Jaclyn. Next. Remember how we did a Skype a while back and just talked about things like ... Most of it, I think, was about your last breakup. I wanted to do a Skype with you about something I think I probably should have told you about a long time ago. It's about creepy ex with flowers. But I don't want it recorded or passed on or anything. What I get out of it is a personal question answered. What happened was a really awkward moment he and I had that I wanted to kind of figure out because it was weird, ... and involves your location at the time. I know this is all very odd sounding, but it would be cool to clear it up person to person and basically let you know what happened that no one knows about but me and 2 other people. It's not a big deal. I just figured you would want to know, not as a YouTuber or anything, but as a person, like real life.
So suddenly he's being a nice guy.
Yeah. I don't know what.
Cut you off. Continue with the email.
Anyway, if you want to talk, again, not to be passed on via video or anything, whoops, any of our channels, not on social media, nothing, just for 2 people to talk so you in your own life know what happened. Again, I cannot stress enough, not for any public reason, confidential, etc., but just let me know. Sometimes we forget you and I are both people with real issues in our lives that don't impact or reflect on the internet. Like I have this whole thing with you publicly, beef or whatever, but in reality, I still care about you and your safety / who you are. So I want to sort this out. But again,
so because he cares so much about your safety, he comes out and hangs out with an ex who is stalked and harassed you.
So, yeah, and apparently they were in talks about something that involved my location at the time, which my ex knew where I lived. So that is a little worrisome.
How does he wrap up that email?
There's one little paragraph left. But again, if you ignore this, I do not at all think you are not safe. The topic has passed, and if you don't want to talk, I'm sure you are fine. Just figured you want to know about what has been in the back of my mind for a while regarding you and what he tried to have me do. Please, please don't share any of this. I'm not trying to be at odds with him. I just want you to know. That's it.
So the suggestion seems to be that the bad ex-harasser stalker tried to get Onision to do something to you when the 2 of them were together in LA, which is where you were living at the time.
That's, what he said in this email is all I have to go off of. He mentions my safety twice and says it involves my location at the time. So putting all those things together, it is very weird. I have moved since then. I no longer live in that spot. So I feel a lot better getting this email, just knowing that I'm not there anymore, but it still does bother me.
Did you ever respond to that email from Onision?
No, I have not responded at all. He actually sent me one after that, I think in December, which is I made a video about it. It's the same email he sent to me and Blair and Repsion, and I think you. We all got the same email, but that's the last correspondence that.
This part of the interview for me was probably the most disturbing part that Jaclyn had shared with everybody, was the fact that she had had a past relationship before SocialRepose where the guy just would not stop trying to contact her, and Greg knew about that and then went a step further and decided to, when they have their falling out, when she was dating SocialRepose, went a step further and decided to go visit this person in LA, and then goes out of his way to send this creepy email to me. And this could just be totally far-fetched, but this is my opinion. I personally do not see Greg's interaction or intentions by sending that email, letting her know that he would, had been told by this ex of her location. I don't think his intentions were good. If his intentions were good, he never would have gone to LA to see this particular ex, knowing what he knows about how this ex would continue to show up and continue to email and continue to, for lack of a better term, stalk and harass Jaclyn at the time. I think that the email was designed by also kind of hiding behind this whole false narrative, I care and I'm just really concerned. I think this email was designed to implement fear into Jaclyn. Truly, that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if that's just totally far-fetched or if you guys agree or anything along those lines. But I don't think that his intentions were good. That's just how I truly feel. This isn't the first time that we've seen this sort of behavior from Greg. This is not the first time where he'll use subtle threats hidden with other things to kind of protect the fact that it is a threat, but it does come across to the person, to the individual, as threatening because, they now know your location. They now have a piece of information on you and they don't like you. You clearly know that. they're saving face by basically saying, oh, I care for you so, so deeply, because then they know that you can't turn around and say, oh my gosh, this is happening. He's basically attempting, or maybe even don't talk about it publicly, but go to a lawyer or something to save, you know, your sanity. At the end of the day, they know that you can't do that anymore, that you cannot take action against it anymore, because they've basically worded it in a way where they're like, oh, I'm protecting her, so that if you ever did, they could easily flip that narrative, which also is what Greg likes to do. To me, I'm getting heated with that one, because, like, to be honest, that's the type of manipulation that is very strategic and very dangerous.
He got married to Kai, you know, I don't remember how old, but I think younger than 18.
Yeah.
Kai was younger than 18. Like that's really young. I mean, if you have to look up the age of consent in a state, then maybe you're pushing it a little bit. That's really young. And I listened to some of the things that he had done to his ex-wife as well. That's scary, in the way that he kind of tried to bash her online to make himself look better so that he could manipulate his way through the divorce process and things like that. You know, it seems like he's always been this person, but the internet, myself included, we're just now finding out how bad it is.
In the case of Sarah, Onision and Kai actually sought and obtained guardianship.
Yeah, that's bizarre. That's, you know, I really hope Sarah's okay. I can't imagine what it would be like to be in a situation with family that you try to escape, and you think you found these people, these friends that care about you, that can help you escape a toxic situation, but they were pulling her into something even worse. I can't imagine going through that. And I saw her speak about it several times, and she seems strong. I'm very impressed with what she's been able to do.
I was impressed when she appeared on this show. I mean, it's amazing.
On the subject of Kai being married before the age of 18, I find that very weird. What I also find very weird is the fact that, you know, in the past, it has been referenced many times that Onision will go out of his way to look up the age of consent in a state that he is planning on visiting for the purposes of interactions that should not be taking place with an underage individual. I mean, this is my opinion on this, to be honest. If you have to go look up, just like Jaclyn said, if you have to look up an age of consent law, you need to take a step back as a person. You need to maybe seek some therapy. You need to try to handle this appropriately, or just not do that type of behavior. That's my opinion.
On the hate Onision bandwagon, I'm there too, but there's a bigger picture. And while I do think there is an element of people feeling sorry for Kai, at what point do you view someone doing these predatory things as a victim or a predator? Like, I know that there's a fine line there, and I feel bad for what Kai must have. There's no way that's been a beautiful relationship the whole time. I feel bad for those negative experiences. I'm sure they were very hard, but in my opinion, that does not excuse this type of behavior. And I don't think that we should forget that there's another person that's a very huge part of this entire situation. I mean, if you're sending inappropriate photos and receiving inappropriate photos from someone who is underage, that's the definition of it, right? I mean, there's not a nicer way to say that.
It's also the definition of transmission of sexually explicit material, child porn, which is a federal offense carrying 10 years per charge, conviction.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I'm glad people are talking about it. I hope that he can't do this to anybody else. I hope that something can happen to prevent this from ever happening to anyone again.
When Jaclyn referenced the fine line, I agree to a certain extent. The thing I guess I don't agree with is the fact that Kai was just totally innocent in the beginning. I don't think that Kai was innocent in the beginning, and here's why. Kai knew some of the actions that were taking place with the previous divorce, okay? And like, I understood that he had a fandom at the time and that he really, you know, just saw Onision and thought, oh gosh, this is the one for me. But at that time period, logically, being under the age of 18, knowing that what we know now about how the brain processes and works, to make a logical decision about your entire future and your life partner and AKA who you think at the time is your soulmate can be a little far stretched with how you process thoughts later on as an adult. To then take the Billy situation under account and to know that there was implemented idealistic desires, thoughts, and actions taking place, that I don't have any judgment for people who decide that they want this for their relationship, but the way that I feel that they handled adding that third person to their relationship, regardless of who it was, I just feel was just very wrong. Now, I know at the time, Billy was age of consent, an adult, so that is good at least. But then to take that same thought and that same method of madness, I guess you could say, and implement that to Sarah, almost so much so where they were like waiting for Sarah to become an adult, and they had taken, you know, her in, and to me, it was so strategic and manipulative and disgusting. And then to know that there was photos going on behind the scenes and cuddling and certain things going on behind the scenes that legally is completely illegal, right? But then to know morality-wise what you're doing to this individual that will affect them for their entire life. How dare they walk free at this point? How dare they walk free? Sarah's interview was so hard to watch because of the pain, and you can generally see the anxiety going on in this person as they are speaking about referencing memories that they had lived through. That's not going to stop there. And for a lot of the individuals who have spoken out, these are things that they're going to be dealing with for the rest of their life. Now, I do think that Sarah is a very strong person. I agree with Chris on that. I agree with Jaclyn on that. I think that, yes, the conversation is getting started. But the main goal here is to protect people from having this happen in the future and to bring awareness to what has been done in the past. Because it is not okay that they, as a couple, get to just get away with these type of things for years. For so many individuals to have their lives affected in such a serious way, a life-changing way, to have this happen again, I can only imagine the frustration, the exhaustion, the worry, and just general fear each individual must have.
And what advice, Jaclyn, do you give to young women, either streamers or young women who watch YouTube? More and more young people are getting their news, information, entertainment from YouTube. What do you say to young women out there who might be vulnerable and susceptible to somebody who, at least in some circles, comes off as charismatic, might be a celebrity to some people?
I don't want people to walk around in fear and always expect the worst, but you should really be careful with everybody that you interact with, you know. And I'm not saying expect every person is an Onision, but there are bad people in the world. And just because someone is bubbly on the internet, or you think they're cool because they have a following, it doesn't mean that they are not a bad person. And you'll know if they ask you to do something that makes you uncomfortable, don't do it. And I wish people didn't care so much about followers, didn't care about how popular someone was. You know, we're all people. Everybody is just a person. No one is worth compromising your own values for, ever. So I just really hope that if you're young and you look up to somebody, don't just go along with what they say because you idolize them. Nobody is worth idolizing. And you should definitely stick to your values and not compromise those because you're in a situation where you feel pressured.
In closing to their interview, I think that Jaclyn's advice to people out there kind of, I guess, interacting on YouTube or any platform with content creators is completely great and amazing. Had I had known who I was involving myself in nearly 2 years ago, I would have never complied with certain things, even 2 years ago. I would have taken this advice to heart and myself been much more knowledgeable about how to conduct and handle things being requested, whether that be a selfie to prove who you are from a content creator, which is the exact example that I went through. I reached out to a smaller content creator, and this content creator had some trust issues for his own actions imploding in his face. And he basically said, okay, so I need you to tell me your full name. I need you to, tell me, what you want, who you are, and I need you to prove your face to me. Your actual face is the face of your YouTube channel. And had I had known about doxing and had I had known about the severity of all of the things that his community and that he encourages his community to do, I never would have complied with showing him a selfie of my face, okay, to get any sort of collaboration with him going and started. I never would have complied with his request to have my phone number. I thought that was something normal. I didn't know, and that was stupid of me. That was naive of me, and he used that to his advantage. If you're out there and you're new to YouTube and you've just started a channel and you want to collaborate with somebody and you found somebody to collaborate with, just be aware of certain things, certain actions, certain manipulative tactics that a lot of content creators, not all of them, but a lot of them will use to gain information about you, to harm you eventually, or even just have that motive to harm you in the future. Safety is first, and remember that if you're uncomfortable with something, do not comply because you fear you're going to lose an opportunity to collaborate. That collaboration was probably more than likely not worth it anyway. I know that mine was not. And just be safe because the internet is a dangerous place. While it can be a beautiful place, it can also be a very dangerous place. And I'll keep saying that because it's a message I do want to spread awareness to.
Especially if someone is using a platform, YouTube, that I love so much for such nasty reasons. It just is not something that I want to stand for. And if I can contribute in any way to the conversation, which hopefully I was able to, I definitely want to do that. I think it's important. So.
And in official closing, thank you guys so much for all of the new subscribers who have subscribed to this channel, and the feedback that you guys give in the comments section is so valuable to me, even if it's not necessarily 100% positive, like it's just kind of critiquing me on some subjects I'm talking about. I very much value opinions of all types. I want to make sure that the content that I'm producing is content that you guys like watching. That's my #1 goal, is to spread awareness. And to spread awareness, you have to have, obviously, people taking that awareness in. So to do that, I have to also take into consideration the wants and desires from you guys as my viewers. And again, I appreciate you so much. If you're new to the channel, thank you for watching. Subscribe and like this video. It really does help me out. And if you want to get notified every time I post a new video, click that little tiny bell right next to the subscribe button and click on, because then you'll be notified. The YouTube sometimes doesn't send out my stuff, I guess, when I publish it. So thank you so much again. Kiss the stars.